Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we're going to talk about atomism, poison, reaction, food. What's going on here? How do you explain this phenomenon? That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, I will start off with an experiment. I would like to use this experiment to enter into the dialectic, okay? So let's start. So you have a man. He has before him 3 plates. One has sand, the other one has grapes, and the last one has poison, okay, cyanide or something. Now, these 3 men are put in front of this plate. The first one takes the sand and ingests it into his stomach. Now, what's going to happen to him? The second one picks up the grape and ingests it into his stomach. Now, what's going to happen to him? The last one takes the cyanide and ingests it also. What's going to happen to the 3 men? Now, this will also tie in with teleology, and I would like to flesh out more things about what is teleology. Okay, now, before we get there, now we know a human being is just a bundle of atoms, right? We're a bundle of atoms, and atoms and forces and reaction and all this stuff. So the concept of digestion is normally like you take something that is material. You are material yourself. You pick up something else that is material, like a vegetable or grape in this case, and then you put it into your mouth. Okay? You put another material into your mouth. It can even be meat of an animal. You put it into your mouth and you swallow it, and then you just get energy. Just like that, you have energy. Just by this process, you have energy. That's the correlation. We can see the process. You pick up another material, you put it into your mouth, and you get energy. Now, why is it that these 3 substances that we have here, they are all material? The sand is material, the grape is material, and the cyanide is material. Why do they have different, effects on the body of the human? So, what's going to happen together is the sand. It might survive, but it's not going to get energy from the sun, or maybe you will get some energy, but most likely you will not, because somehow the stomach or the human body has not been designed to ingest sand. Maybe there's another organism that likes sand, but the human body has not been designed to eat sand. Maybe we can eat this mud stuff. I'm not talking about that. So let's not get too specific about these things. But I don't think even those people that eat mud, they're not getting energy from mud, really. They are just eating, maybe they have some imbalance in their stomach. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is when you eat sand, you will not get any energy from it. Or not as much energy anyway, than compared to eating grapes. So why are they different? It's the same process, material ingesting another material. What's going on? Now, if we look fundamentally, what will be going on? This is where atomism comes in. So we're talking about atoms here and the forces. So know something. Atoms are composed of electrons, neutrons, and protons, according to science. And these things they have a nuclear force that binds them. And then these atoms are combined with other atoms to form molecules, and there's a force that binds them. So there's a force that binds everything. You as a human body, as a human person, there's some force that is holding you together. That's why you're not breaking apart. Without those forces, you just disintegrate. So those forces bind you together. Now, the concept of reaction. There's reaction between when you bring 2 atoms together, there seems to be a reaction. And maybe some people even argue our body evolved to become this way, like our bodies, and there's a reaction. Think about the forming of a human being, the sperm and the eggs, and they react and all these things. So it seems to be like that's what usually goes on. There has to be a reaction, then something else will come out of that reaction. Maybe a new rearrangement, and forces have to be involved. So what's going on here is that when you take in another material, the material will come in contact with the material of, let's say, your stomach. And that those things in your stomach, they are arranged in a particular way. Notice that the atoms are arranged in different ways. So they can be arranged to form a human being, arranged to form a bottle, arranged to form... Now, they are also arranged to form the flesh of your hand, arranged to form the inner lining of your stomach, those things are arranged specifically, and we'll get to teleology later, but the arrangement is not the same. So the arrangement of the soil is not the same as the arrangement of your stomach. That's why it's a stomach, not soil. So that's why now, when you ingest another material, the atoms that form the lining of your stomach and the forces that bind them are coming in contact with this thing. So you cannot look at a fruit, at the grape, and somehow you get energy. No, it's until they come in contact. So when they come in contact close enough, there seems to be a reaction that occurs. That reaction is going to be a result from the forces that bind that thing you ingested and the forces of the atoms of the lining of your stomach. So whenever those two things come in close in proximity, there will be a reaction that will break down some things, those atoms and everything like that. They will break down into smaller chunks, and somehow you get energy from that by forces. And a lot of things is going on in there that you take for granted. A lot of things are going on in there. Energy, forces, breaking things down. You're not even conscious of this. You're not even doing it. It just does itself somehow. But all these things going on is energy, forces involved. And in another video, we'll talk about like forces and energy. What are they? They are not something material. They are something that seem to be moving things. It ties in with the teleology. But now we've already understood that you put another material inside, there will be a reaction, and then that's what happens. That's how you digest things. When you now eat the sand, the atoms of the sand and the lining of your stomach, they are not built to take energy from each other. The reaction, is either there's no reaction, or the reaction will be very small, such that the lining of your stomach has been arranged to take some things and not take some other things, which means that it has been designed for that purpose of extracting energy from specific things. If you take another thing, it will not extract energy from it. And in the case of the cyanide, when you ingest the cyanide, it's not been designed for that, and that's why you die, because the forces don't know what's going on, and they will just kill you. They will just fall apart because they have not been designed to eat cyanide. If it was like neutral, if the lining of your stomach was just designed, it was not designed and it was neutral, anything will be able to enter and will be fine. But for the purpose of human life, maybe in the sense of if you are like you want to be like someone that doesn't think life has any meaning and is like a neutral observer, but there won't be any difference whether you eat cyanide or anything. But if you are thinking in the sense of the human life, it seems to be that those things have been designed specifically for purposes. And we're just talking about digestion here. So you see that the man that eats the sand will get no energy, and you should go and see his doctor if he doesn't die even. The man that eats the grapes, now that the atoms that form the lining of your stomach, like that, they recognize this grape, and they can interact with it, and they can extract energy from that, and it will be fine. You will get energy from it somehow. How do bodies, we are starting with material things, how do they get, and somehow you generate energy? What is energy? What is that? They don't want to talk about it. We were going to talk about it. What is that stuff? What is energy? What are you talking about, man? Matter is not supposed to have energy. Why does matter have energy? E equals to mc squared. Why don't you just eliminate the matter then, and we're just left with energy? But anyway, now someone that ingests the cyanide, you would die. Now, what does this all mean? Why am I even talking about this? Now, the first thing you recognize is that we know correlation. So correlation is that a man puts something into his mouth and then somehow he gets energy. That's what we know. Now, the thing you put into your mouth now matters also. So we see like there's correlation between, you have to put a specific kind of thing. You cannot just put anything into your mouth. Okay, that's another one. And somehow you get energy from it. That's another correlation. Now, if you've studied like David Hume and this, like there's no correlation. Like there's correlation, but there's no necessity. There's nothing necessary about it, according to David Hume. Now, we want to cover teleology and things, that there is no, those atoms were arranged in a specific way, and that's why they are performing functions like that. And there's some kind of, now if you want to affirm teleology, you're going to affirm some kind of necessity, that there is no possible way that when the atoms that form the lining of your stomach come in contact with cyanide, somehow you get energy. No, you have to say it's impossible. And if the atoms that form the lining of your stomach come in contact with grapes, somehow you're going to die because of that, you have to say it's impossible. And just like that, you see, like, if you affirm teleology, there has to be purpose, there has to be some kind of necessity that is involved there. Now, if you want to say, now how do you bring like God and everything into this thing? Because teleology, like, God is a designer, right? Which we believe. But think some people, some theologians have said that, for instance, the Asharites, I think, that there's no necessity. They have denied necessity in these things. They say God is the one that decides if you get energy from it. So all these things I've been talking about, atoms and this thing, they agree with David Hume that it's just correlation. The real thing that gives you that energy, the real thing that makes you think that this is what's going on, is actually God. Without God, God will be like the one that is in charge of those energy and forces that you think are interacting and all of that. And God is in charge. So you could eat cyanide and not die. And we call that what? A miracle. You could eat the sand and get energy. So some people have argued that this would destroy teleology, that there won't be any purpose to things, because God can literally decide what things will be. This is the argument from Ibn Rushd, okay? So he's going to define teleology. Now, so how do you explain miracles and things that people want to explain, and God's providence? How do things get power and energy? To me, modern science actually supports the Asharites more. I'm serious. Like, modern science supports them in a lot of things, especially thinkers like David Hume. Anyway, so the point is, if you want to support like the design argument, teleology, you have to affirm some kind of necessity, such that, can God then come and interact, stop things from happening? That's the next question. Can God come and say, if you eat a cyanide, which is necessarily that you should die, somehow you will not die? How would you explain how God would do that? Some people might say, you know what? You're supposed to die normally, and God has created these laws to be like that. God has created things with purpose, and they will follow the natural order unless God interferes with it. And now, how will God interfere with it? They will say, if it's something necessary, then God cannot interfere with it in the purpose that He has designed it with. That would be like a contradiction. So they will say, maybe God will create something else that will stop it from happening. So when you take the cyanide, God is going to like change the structure of the cyanide somehow, or change something that will make it compatible, that will not be a contradiction. Do you understand what I'm saying? In the case of the Asharites or the other guys, they can say, you can eat cyanide and God does not need to change anything about the cyanide. You just form a false notion that cyanide in itself can kill, can add something, whereas it's God all along. It's not the cyanide or the structure of the cyanide itself. So those things are arbitrary to like, in the sense that God keeps them happening so many times that you form a correlation that if you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen. But it's not necessary. It's not necessary. That's the point they're making. And the other guys defending teleology, they will say it is necessary. And God cannot even He will not change that. Not because God does not have power, or this nonsense argument, but because God doesn't lie. God does not contradict Himself. God does not do all of that. That's their arguments. But me, I see like both of them have a point. You see, the Asharites or the Asharites, they are trying to preserve God's power and try to diminish the human like this thing. And the other guys are trying to like allow things to happen in a way that God built things for certain purposes and allowed them to happen. So imagine I design a clock. I'm not going to go and be interfering with the clock. The clock does what I designed it for. I don't need to change anything. I've designed it and it's going to be doing what it is designed to do, like that. So does the clock have power, or did I give it power? So they will say, yeah, God gave us power. God gave us the laws. God made the law that when you eat grapes, you get energy. God made that. But after that, you are trying to say there's no purpose in that. That is not necessary. It is necessary according to them. So anyway, this is actually a very interesting thing. Look at digestion. We take digestion for granted. It applies to everything, not just digestion per se. Why is oxygen necessary for our survival? Why can't we breathe on Mars? Why can't we just, like, because oxygen is matter. See, this concept of taking matter in and somehow you get energy. You breathe oxygen, which is matter, and then you get energy. You drink water, and somehow you get energy. You eat food, and somehow you get energy. We take it for granted a lot. It needs to be examined. And when you start thinking about things to that fundamental level, which I'll flesh out more in another video, you start to realize that there's actually something there for someone to think about and ponder. So let me see what you think in the comment section. See you guys later. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.